Remember to turn on all notifications so you don't miss a video. Hey story surgeon, tell me, how do we respawn to students and refresh the page and restart the memory, respark the soul and rebuild the energy? We stop the ignorance, we kill the enemy. Every day, shonen women are oppressed and abused by the anime community. We have to stand up and make a change. Show your support for these women and let them know people care about them by liking and sharing the Shonen Female Defense Force videos. This is the second response video in the Shonen Female Defense Force series. #Protect Shonen Women. Once again, these aren't hate videos. I just want to stop the spread of a false narrative by debunking the videos perpetuating it. This is a response to Why Are Shonen Girls Trash? Let's Talk by Q. I actually have not seen this video or any of the remaining ones before writing this script. I'm not going to counter simple opinions, only arguments and evidence. Let's see what she has to say. When talking about Dragon Ball, she calls Bulma a token female. When a character is called a token X, it means the character is only there to fill a quota or check a box. So calling her a token female sounds like a sly jab that isn't even true. But then she goes on to compliment Bulma, so I don't know why she said that. Maybe that wasn't her intention, but that's definitely how it comes off. She starts with Naruto and looks at how great the main two are and calls Sakura regular. Starting here, part of the appeal of Sakura's character is how she's a pretty regular person surrounded by people with amazing jutsus. She's an everyman, which makes her fight against Team Dozu so much more impactful. In part 1, she absolutely spends a lot of time just relying on Naruto and Sasuke, but I need to point out that in the Land of Waves mission, her responsibility was to protect Tazuna, given by Kakashi. She did exactly that and arguably did a perfect job. I only noticed this in my Sakura retrospective. When the demon brothers appear, she puts herself between Tazuna and the opponent. Meanwhile, Naruto freezes up. When Zabuza first throws his sword, Sakura's the one who saves Naruto, while Sasuke saves Tazuna. During the first Zabuza fight and the second Zabuza fight, she's staying back to protect Tazuna, and guess what? Tazuna never takes a scratch on this mission. Quote, from the first mission and onwards, she literally relies on them to do all the work, end quote. Well, that's a lie. I already proved that with the first mission. Then there's her nursing and protecting Naruto and Sasuke in the Forest of Death. So yet another counterexample. But I will agree that compared to the other two, she does a lot less and does rely on them a lot. But without these lows, wouldn't have been so satisfying. She was kicking herself for not being strong enough to go on the Sasuke recovery mission, so she becomes a powerhouse and a healer with the intention of helping Naruto bring back Sasuke. That's brilliant writing. Throughout part 2, she's a vital healer, especially in the war. Keeping the fighters alive is such an underappreciated job by the fans. She literally keeps Naruto's heart beating after he loses the Nine Tails, but of course fans will say she does nothing and cries. She defeated an Akatsuki member alongside Chio too. She takes a jab at Sakura versus Ino, but all she says is, how do you follow Rock Lee's fight with this fight? End quote. She makes no arguments as to why it's a bad fight and relies on the fact that hating on this fight is a common opinion. The fight is actually good and shows off intelligent strategy that borders on the level of Shikamaru versus Keen. Additionally, one fight not being as epic as another is not an argument as to why the less epic one is bad. If Shikamaru versus Keen or Sasuke versus Yoroi followed up Lee versus Gaara, it would look bad by her standards. She then argues that Hinata is capable, implying that she is more so than Sakura. This is not true. If the amount of goodwill given to Hinata was given to Sakura, she wouldn't be saying this. Quote, what does Sakura do when they fight Pain? She cries and screams for Naruto. Like, do something please. End quote. When Pain attacks, she's the first person to fight. In 421, she saves people from a giant centipede. Then she rushes to the hospital to heal all the injured people. In 429, we see her healing at the hospital. Only after Pain levels Konoha does she scream for Naruto to come. Shikamaru didn't do anything, Kiba didn't, Choji didn't, Tsunade didn't. Now let's keep it 100. What could they have done? They just witnessed a man flatten their village, and he pulled up 5 more allies. They were not prepared for this. Meanwhile, Naruto has literally been training for this encounter. Let me guess, you wanted her to jump in like Hinata when there was only one Pain left? The next time we see her is in 438, where she's taking charge to try and counter Naruto's six-tail transformation. She tells everyone to evacuate, says they need to get to Hinata, and plans to contact Yamato. The scene in 441, where Team Guy arrives, shows you how important medics are. When they analyze Hinata's state, Neji shouts for a medic, and Guy notices more injured people. Ain't nobody asking for combatants, they're asking for medics, because they are important to keeping people alive. If Sakura jumped in and got smoked by Pain too, Hinata would have died. In 442, Sakura is shown healing Hinata. If you don't like Sakura, that's fine, but don't misinform people when you're giving your arguments and evidence. Do your research. For Bleach, she says orihime and rukia are just there to be damsels in distress. Both of them played this role only once in the story, so that's false advertising. Orihime is there to be a shield and a healer, not a combatant. This becomes prevalent in Hueco Mundo. She heals Grimmjow and Ichigo there. In the Thousand Year Blood War arc, she's bringing up shields to protect everyone in their journey to Hueco Mundo. During the final battle against Yuha, she's the one making shields to protect Ichigo against the final boss. And then Rukia is a full-on combatant once she gains her powers back. She takes out a Fraction, an Espada, and a Stern Ritter for crying out loud. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and assume she didn't do research and is operating off of her poor memory of these stories, because otherwise, she'd be blatantly lying to her audience. The fact that she said all of the women in Fairy Tail are the most frustrating frustrates me. Before she even says anything, Fairy Tail has the biggest female ratio in any battle manga I've seen. There are several female combatants who hold their own in battle and are well-written characters with arcs that rival the males. In every powerful group, there are always females. The titular guild has a group of S ranks. Erza and Mirajane are there. Phantom Lord has a powerful group called the Element 4, and Juvia is there. The final group, the Spriggan 12, have multiple female characters. In my memory, almost every enemy group had at least one female. Other powerful female characters I can think of are Minerva, Altair, and Kagura. This is why before she even says anything, I know she's going to be on some BS. She argues that Lucy is the damsel in distress. I don't remember how many times she's actually captured, so I'll let that one slide. Someone tell me in the comments. She criticizes Lucy for being a summoner. Why is that a bad thing? So writers aren't allowed to get creative with their powers and styles of combat? I'm assuming that her argument is because she doesn't throw the attacks herself, she's weak. Is Kankuro inferior for controlling puppets? Are stand users all weak? I'm guessing she thinks that anyone can summon and that it's a talentless fighting style, which is not true, otherwise everyone would be doing it. So being a summoner isn't a bad thing. But even then, Lucy has always had a whip which she uses from time to time. She even levels up her whip to the Fleuve d'Etoile. Furthermore, Lucy gains star dresses after the time skip, which allows her to borrow her summoning's powers and fight herself. The last time I read Fairy Tail was in 2017. That's 5 years ago, and I still haven't completed the story. So why can I remember all of these details, but Inokyu can't? Is it because I have an amazing memory? No. I think it's because Inokyu was either told there was a female problem, or wants there to be a female problem, so she unconsciously alters her memory of these stories to fit that narrative. Then she tries to use Aquarius disliking Lucy as a diss on Lucy. Aquarius is a volatile character who's rude to everyone. Misinformation. Then she argues that because Lucy dresses scantily, she can't take her seriously. That's a you problem. One Piece has a ton of goofy looking villains, which is worse than scantily clothed women, but people, including me, still find ways to take them seriously. Look at Kaku, Mariah, Sentomaru, Kuma, Katakuri, Big Mom, and so many more. They're all deformed and cartoonishly exaggerated, but they are still taken seriously. There are times where Big Mom genuinely looks menacing and feels threatening. That's because it's not all about appearance. And skimpy clothing shouldn't even affect how seriously you take a character in the first place. She argues that Erza was supposed to be the one, but then disappointed. This is so dishonest. She doesn't even try to explain. Erza has so many iconic and epic moments that a lot of the fans criticize her for plot armor. Remember when she took down 100 demons alone in the Grand Magic games? Remember when she defeated Sho and later Azuma without her armor? Remember when she destroys a meteor and one-shots Dragon Irene with just a sword? Bro, what are we talking about? Quote, Lucy, Wendy, Levi, Juvia didn't really do anything. End quote. Lies. They were still getting fights up until the last arc. Quote, Juvia was just the love interest for Grey. End quote. Another lie. Remember when she was forced to fight Kana but sacrificed herself instead in the Laxus arc? Yeah, that's completely separate from Grey. That's only one example, but being a love interest does not mean that's all a character is. She's a capable combatant throughout the story. I could argue that Jalal is just a love interest for Erza and Gajil is just a love interest for Levi with that kind of logic. Then she backtracks and says Erza did stuff, but because it was in erotic outfits, it doesn't count. Okay. Quote, they each only had one character trait and mostly needed to be saved. End quote. If the females had one character trait, then so did the males because they were all written the same. And they needed to be saved? Where's the proof? For some reason, she gives so much goodwill to the 3rd gen. She gasses up Ochako versus Bakugo, but this fight is basically the same David versus Goliath battle as Sakura versus Team Dozu. Additionally, many females in the 2nd gen have balanced and equal footing fights that are epic, especially Fairy Tail. but then she's upset that ochako gets pushed to the background. I am too, but for different reasons. See Bleach's unhealthy obsession with power, because it's the same exact problem. Basically, her and Ida were set up as main characters, but then they are switched out, which betrays the expectations set. She reveals that her issue is that she wants a female that is as powerful as the males. I'd use the pyramid argument, but from memory, Hero actually has more of an even distribution of females compared to the big three, so I don't think that's a justification here. Quote, girls can be strong without needing to throw their fists around, end quote. So then why did you just diss Sakura and Lucy? She wants a girl that can kick as much butt and is just as important as the males. Fairy Tail has that, but you just dismissed it for no reason. Notice how she cites specific events and motivations for Hero, but not for Fairy Tail. She complained about Mirko being a bunny girl because women and bunnies are often paired together. Who cares? How is this a negative towards her? She also doesn't like female fan service. A female serving as fan service does not harm their character as long as the fan service isn't intrusive like in Fire Force. Additionally, men in Hero wear skin-tight suits too. All Might is literally an unrealistically buff dude in spandex, but men don't complain. Why? I can't speak for them, but I don't because I realize that fan service doesn't negatively impact a character. In fact, I think men use male fan service as inspiration. When men see DBZ characters go shirtless and show off their bulging muscles, men don't complain about fan service and the female gaze. They think, I want to get like that. But often when females see big boobs and hourglass figures, it's fan service is bad, not let me get that figure too. I have no stats for this, just personal experience. She talks about the Hero movie, but I don't watch that filler crap. I'm gonna have to slander Nobara for a quick second because Inakyu is using her as a good example. Nobara is significantly inferior to her male teammates. Yuji fought the likes of Todo and Hanami. Fushiguro fought Sukuna and even made an incomplete domain expansion. Nobara beat a curse with Yuji, lost to a bunch of curses in the next arc, lost to Mai and the Witch Girl, and then beat a curse in the last arc of Season 1. With just Season 1, she's far behind. Spoiler alert, but in the manga, she loses twice in the Shibuya incident arc and gets no wins, while Yuji and Megumi cop W's. Then she says Nezuko is as useful as Pikachu. I agree that she's a plot device, but Pikachu? Come on. She's one of the strongest characters in the story, exactly what you were asking for, but because this female narrative just has to exist, Inakyu needs to downplay her. I don't need to talk about her ex. In conclusion, Inakyu had to manipulate a lot of information to create this problem she wanted to see. She ignored so much evidence and made quite a number of poor arguments. If she relied on memory, her memory of the big three is garbage. She lied a lot about Sakura and showed no goodwill to her. As for Bleach and Fairy Tail, I feel like anyone who's watched them would be able to tell you that characters like Rukia and Erza are extremely competent. But somehow, she remembers it differently. She made bad arguments like girl plus bunny equals bad, fan service diminishes a character, and being a summoner is an inferior fighting style. If you feel like there's a female problem in Battle Shonen, and you actually care about the topic, the bare minimum you can do is actual research to make sure your claims are based in reality. You don't have to come to the same conclusions as me, but at least get your evidence right. Your arguments shouldn't be based on your imagination. The amount of effort Inakyu put into this is not the kind someone who actually cares would put in. That's all I got. Shonen Female Defense Force signing out. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.